Hello and welcome to Guidance Review. I'm David Pudwill, and today we're going to be talking about FDA's recent guidance document on select updates for biocompatibility of certain devices in contact with intact skin, published in October 2020. A few key takeaways for today's video are 1. What types of devices and materials are included? 2. What types of devices or materials are excluded? And 3, what information and labeling should be included? So without much further ado, let's get into the video. So here's the guidance document with links to the draft guidance and comments, which need to be submitted by December 14th, 2020. And if we head over to regulations.gov, we'll see that as of today's recording, there is one comment. And we'll go ahead and check that out. There are also some attachments. There's one document here, and that's the guidance document that we'll take a look at. And if we head over to the one comment, this is from Stephen Parrish, and there are 3 comments in this one comment. This draft guidance refers to the wrong year of the other final guidance, which is now 2020, not 2016. If we see here, this particular update happened in September and updated the previous document, which was final. If we see here this draft document and it updates the previous document issued on June 16, 2016, it says here, and this is that other document. So this is what that comment is referring to. And 2, Table 1 is vague. In the last row of the table is this table stating that on-body pump attachment systems are excluded. Just because the device has an adhesive to attach it to the body does not mean that the device should be excluded. From biocomp testing, the user will be contacting the exterior of the on-body pump attachment systems. The adhesive needs to be considered. The other exterior materials of the OBDS needs to be considered as well. And then the third comment here, there is a statement, medical devices excluded from this policy are described in Table 1 below. What policy? Is the policy the entire guidance document or only attachment G? What is the definition of the policy? So here's the one comment we have already, fairly early on, within a week of this being posted, and perhaps you'll have additional comments to add after today's video. So if we go ahead and get into the actual guidance document we're reviewing here, we have that up here, and this, just for your note, it's clearly marked a draft guidance, and this draft is being distributed for comment purposes only, and it was issued on October 15, 2020. They're asking for suggestions regarding this draft document within 60 days of publication, and when final, it will update sections 2 and 3, and add a new attachment to use of international standard ISO 10993-1, biological evaluation of medical devices, Part 1, evaluation and testing within a risk management process. If we go ahead and scroll down and look, here's some standard front material in terms of additional copies, and then a table of contents. And it's a relatively short guidance for today's video. And here we can see, so this is one of the drafts that has numbering. It makes it easier to provide some of your comments on specific sections. And the introduction here, FDA developed this draft guidance to propose select updates to FDA's current thinking regarding the type of biocompatibility information that should be provided in a pre-market submission for certain devices made from common polymers and fabrics that are in contact with intact skin. The existing guidance use of international standard ISO 10993, biological evaluation of medical devices, Part 1, remains in effect in its current form until this draft guidance is finalized. The proposed sections referenced below are intended to add or supersede applicable sections of the 2016 biocompatibility guidance after FDA considers public comment to this draft guidance. The sections of the 2016 biocompatibility guidance that are not affected by this select update will not be substantively changed and will remain in effect. For the current edition of the FDA-recognized consensus standards referenced in this document, see the FDA-recognized consensus standards database. For more information regarding use of consensus standards in regulatory submissions, refer to the FDA guidance titled Appropriate Use of Voluntary Consensus Standards in Pre-Market Submissions for Medical Devices. And there are some links here. FDA's guidance documents, including this draft guidance, do not establish legally enforceable responsibilities. Instead, guidances describe the agency's current thinking on a topic and should be viewed only as recommendations unless specific regulatory or statutory requirements are cited, and the use of the word should means that something is suggested or recommended. Here they call out but not required. I would suggest you take it under advisement that they're being kind in their word choice. In terms of background, we are issuing this guidance to propose select updates to our biocompatibility recommendations and to assist manufacturers in preparing pre-market approval applications, or PMAs, humanitarian device exemptions, HDEs, investigational device exemption application, or IDEs, pre-market notification 510(k) submissions, and de novo classification requests for medical devices that come into direct contact or indirect contact with the human body to determine the potential for an unacceptable adverse biological response resulting from contact of the materials of the device with the body. In terms of select updates, new attachment to the 2016 Biocompatibility Guidance, biocompatibility of certain devices in contact with intact skin. Many devices have intact skin contacting materials that are made from polymers and fabrics. FDA believes that these materials pose a very low biocompatibility risk because they have a long history of safe use in medical devices that contact intact skin. For such devices, significant FDA review resources are expended to obtain sufficient rationales to justify omission of biocompatibility testing for frequently used intact skin contacting medical devices, consistent with FDA's recommendations in their recent biocompatibility guidance. This attachment describes a least burdensome approach for these devices that recommends specific material information to be included in a pre-market submission in lieu of biocompatibility testing. This approach also supports the principles of the 3 R's to reduce, refine, and replace animal use in testing when feasible. This approach is partially based on FDA's review experience in pre-market submissions with these common polymers and fabrics. Here, FDA provides a couple clarifications and references. This approach also relies on certain parts of the Quality System Regulation, 820, and other post-market controls to identify potential biocompatibility-related issues. For example, quality system and other post-market controls have requirements that should identify biocompatibility issues for devices in contact with intact skin if procedures established and maintained and records maintained in the device master record by the manufacturer include sufficient purchasing controls, production and process controls for manufacturing, receiving, in-process, and finished device acceptance, analysis of quality data, including complaints to detect quality problems, and complaints should be received, reviewed, evaluated, and when necessary, investigated. And specifically, FDA calls out issues that could relate to cytotoxicity, irritation, or sensitization, which could include redness, swelling, irritation, sensitization or hypersensitivity, allergy, and immune response or other reactions on the skin where the device has contact. After FDA finalizes this guidance, FDA intends to periodically reassess the list of device materials and exclusion characteristics identified in Section 3A, Part 2, and 3A, Part 3 below of this guidance. FDA recommends that external stakeholders submit comments to the docket to suggest the addition or removal of device materials or exclusion characteristics from this policy, including a rationale. FDA intends to review comments received in the docket and periodically assess whether any changes to this policy are warranted. When FDA believes changes are warranted, FDA will issue updated guidance in accordance with the procedures in the Good Guidance Practices Regulation. Which types of devices are included? Devices included in this policy should meet all of the following characteristics. They should be medical devices that contact intact skin surfaces only. They should be limited. It's less than or equal to 24-hour, prolonged, greater than 24-hour to 30 days, and long-term, greater than 30 days durations of contact including repeat use devices, so there's really not a restriction here, and composed of materials outlined in Section 3A, Part 2 below. FDA recommends additional discussion through the Q submission process to determine if this policy could be applicable to specific products in the following situations. If legally U.S. marketed device made from the same material was found to be toxic in previous testing, if a legally U.S. marketed device made from the same material resulted in adverse clinical findings after marketing that may be related to cytotoxicity, irritation, and sensitization, if the proposed device is indicated for use with neonates, as neonatal skin is more permeable and therefore the risk that leachables may permeate the skin is higher, if the proposed device is indicated for use in pregnant women, if chemicals absorbed through the skin, they may be transferred from a pregnant woman to her fetus, or if it is a combination product or biologically derived material. Such products can cause adverse biological responses such as cytotoxicity, irritation, or sensitization. So what materials are included? FDA has identified specific device materials that are included in this policy when they are in contact with only intact skin surfaces. The included device materials are synthetic polymers such as ABS, cured epoxy adhesives, PTFE, EPTFE, PVDF, and FEP, HIPS, polyamides including nylon, PBT, and PC, and also PEEK or PEI, LDPE, HDPE, PET, PMMA, POM, PPSU, PP, PU, or silicone. In terms of fabrics, FDA has included on the list polyurethane fabrics, including lycra, cotton fabrics, polyamide fabrics, including nylon, or silk fabrics. And in terms of what devices or materials are excluded, medical devices excluded from this policy are described in Table 1 below. Medical device characteristics, where intact skin contacting components fabricated from materials that are not explicitly included in the above list, including novel materials and bulk materials such as titanium, stainless steel, nitinol, gold. There's another policy actually around nitinol that we can talk about that was also released at the same time. I'll do that in a separate video. Stored in or containing fluids or creams. Here, FDA includes some reasons for their exclusions. Fabricated from in situ polymerizing materials, absorbable materials, or hydrogels. Contacts breached or compromised surfaces, such as abraded or shaved skin, or open or healing wounds. Reprocessed single-use devices. And anything that includes adhesives to attach a device directly to the skin. And here they give a couple examples, such as electrode pads or other attachment systems. And then FDA addresses what information should be included in a premarket submission. All premarket submissions, that's PMAs, HDE applications, IDE applications, 510Ks, and de novo requests, FDA recommends the following information be included in the premarket submission for device types within the scope of the policy outlined in this guidance. A list of all materials used to fabricate the device with direct or indirect skin contact. A statement confirming that the listed materials have a documented history of safe use in legally U.S. marketed medical devices in contact with intact skin, which can include an MDR analysis and a literature search, and a statement confirming that none of the above listed exclusions apply. And there's an additional recommendation for IDE applications that in addition to the content recommended in Section 3A Part 4 above, FDA recommends that study sponsors discuss any adverse biological responses from devices within this intact skin policy in IDE progress reports submitted pursuant to this section of the CFR. Specifically, FDA recommends that study sponsors describe any redness, swelling, irritation, sensitization, allergy, immune response, and other reactions observed by investigators during the course of a clinical study with observations attributed to a specific device, if relevant. Additional recommendations for marketing submissions, such as 510Ks, PMAs, HDE applications, and de novo requests, is in addition to the content recommended in Section 3A Part 4 above, FDA recommends manufacturers include a statement that the manufacturer has documented in their device master record how they have determined that biocompatibility risks for their device are addressed such that biocompatibility testing and a detailed rationale regarding manufacturing is not necessary. The following statement is an example of the format and content to support such an approach. We have documented in the device master record that biocompatibility testing, such as cytotoxicity, irritation, and sensitization, and a detailed rationale regarding manufacturing based on the type of materials and nature of contact are not necessary, as biocompatibility risks are addressed through reliance on relevant quality system requirements and post-market controls related to purchasing controls, production and process controls, acceptance activities, corrective and preventive action, complaint files, and medical device reporting. Lastly, what is FDA's recommended content and format for certain labeling information related to this policy? This section contains FDA's format and content recommendations for certain labeling information, and to help illustrate, FDA has provided an example. When the device is intended for use in a patient population that may not have the ability to identify adverse biological reactions related to cytotoxicity, irritation, or sensitization, such as patients with epilepsy or dementia, FDA recommends that manufacturers using this policy in lieu of conducting biocompatibility testing inform caretakers in the labeling by including a precaution discussing common adverse skin reactions. And an example of the statement that they would recommend is here, that caretakers should assess patients for adverse reactions on the skin where the device has contact, such as redness, swelling, irritation, sensitization, allergy, immune response, or other reactions. And then there are some other proposed select updates here. In addition to the new attachment described above, the following updates are being proposed. FDA has bolded all proposed new text to make clear what text is being added to the existing language. So in section 2, FDA intends to add the following new bullet, that attachment G, biocompatibility of certain devices in contact with intact skin, describes the recommended submission contents for devices in contact with intact skin that are fabricated from common polymers or fabrics. Section 3, risk management for biocompatibility evaluations, will include a new footnote to this statement that the risk assessment should evaluate the final finished device, etc. The new footnote would say, see attachment G for special considerations for FDA's recommended biocompatibility evaluation for certain devices in contact with intact skin that are fabricated from common polymers and materials. And FDA intends to redesignate attachment G in the guidance to be attachment H to accommodate the new attachment proposed in this guidance. And that wraps it up for today's video. Thank you very much for spending your time with me today. I just want to highlight again the couple key takeaways from today's video. 1, what types of devices and materials are included? 2, what types of devices or materials are excluded? And 3, what information and labeling should be included in a submission? Thank you again for spending your time with me today. I hope that it was informative and useful. And I look forward to seeing your comments or suggestions. We rely on them in driving new content and making sure that that we're providing information to you that you're going to find useful in the future. So please like, subscribe, provide comments and feedback, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.